Welcome to Behind the Paranormal with Paul and Ben Eno.
What is a medium, as opposed to a larger or smaller? How does the process work? How do they know what they're really talking with?
Hello, and welcome to the 805th edition of Behind the Paranormal with Paul and Ben Eno here on WOON 1240 AM. Excuse me. Sorry, allergies are kicking in today. So today we have a new guest here in studio, a rare treat, 2 weeks in a row, actually.
Yes.
We've had someone in studio, which is very nice, on a subject that seems to get a lot of talk, but not much analysis. So we welcome your calls today. The number is 401-766-1240. That's from anywhere. Or email paul@behindtheparanormal.com. Or if you want to get a little bit of a faster contact, you can reach us via Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Well, faster if I think to check them. Before we introduce our guest, I have to tell potential callers that even though our guest is a well-known psychic medium, we do not do on-air readings. So if you call in, you're welcome to do so. Please confine your questions to the subject matter. Okay. Now, we rarely have psychic mediums on the show, or psychics or mediums for that matter, because at the risk of sounding critical, it seems to us that they all say the same shallow things, seem to be full of themselves, are marooned in the 19th century, and frankly are rather boring. But once in a great while, we run into someone who is really different. Such a fellow is Gary McKinstry, known internationally as a medium, psychic, minister, doctor of philosophy and religion, 32nd degree Scottish Rite Mason, teacher, hypnotherapist, paranormal researcher, media personality, mentor, and life coach. Gary and his lovely wife, Virginia, live right here in our WOON home listening area, and if we keep going, we'll never get to meet him.
So Gary McKinstry, welcome to Behind the Paranormal.
First of all, thank you for having me. I love live radio. I hope this never goes out of style, because I find it, I do a lot of traveling, and one of the things I do is I listen. Don't get me wrong, music is wonderful. I love music, but I still hope this never goes out of style, because people like you keep people informed.
Well, thank you, Gary. We've kind of gotten used to live radio, right, Ben?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
last decade or so.
We have kind of had like a little bit of a career in it.
Somewhat, yes. Okay. So, Ben, take it away.
So, let's start off from the very beginning with a seemingly simple question, as we always like to say, but not so simple. So, what is mediumship and how does it work?
Now, do you want the long answer, the television answer, or the real answer?
The live radio answer?
The live radio.
Okay.
25 words or less.
Okay.
He's kidding.
Yeah.
I gotcha. Okay. Basically, what it is, is there's two parts to it. One is I have to actually say what's it for before we get into what it is. It's for a myriad of reasons. Sometimes it's for people to explore. I have what I call tourists that come to me, and those are people that don't really know who they want to talk to, but they're interested in the experience. Then I have people that come for specific reasons, whether it's closure or... And by the way, I do not provide closure. You've got to get that yourself. My job sometimes is to help them get to a step where they feel more comfortable. As part of my job, there are times when I send people back pretty much to look at their own faith system, because sometimes they come and they're lacking on that. Sometimes it's more getting to go to a grief counselor or an organization. So a good medium, basically, is not going to tell you they're going to give you everything. Okay, that's the first part. So if you go to see someone and they promise you, when you leave here, you're going to feel this, this, and this, nobody can. Okay, so that's the first part of this. I want people to know, whether it's me or anybody else, none of us can provide all the answers. The other part to it, what am I actually doing? What I'm actually doing is creating what I consider a light-modified trance. Why would it be a light trance? Because if I put myself under, I can't converse with the person I'm sitting with. I have to be both moderator, and I also have to be in what I consider a trance or altered brainwave activity pattern. So in order to do that, I have to introduce that form. Once I do that, what I'm actually doing is connecting, and I don't want to sound all new agey about it, but I'm connecting to an energetic pattern. You, me, the entire planet has energy. We all have some form. We are not inanimate objects. So from our creation to whatever we have all this energy. We're kind of like giant ever-ready batteries. When the body passes, and at some point the body has to, that energy just doesn't dissipate. It has to transform or change state. You know, if you look at Einstein, or if you look at anybody, if you go into the physics world, you cannot destroy energy. You can change it. So what happens is, and at least I believe, that the energy pattern changes from this dimensional form and goes to another form. The consciousness also is connected to the energetic pattern. My job is to basically jump by vibrational wavelength, so to speak, to go from A to B. We're sitting in a radio station. This is very much the same thing. Outside somewhere is an antenna. The person I'm reading for is the antenna. My job is to be the tuner. All I'm doing is dialing it in. Okay, I'm hitting the right frequency, so to speak. And at that point, whatever or whoever is on the other side, I'm interpreting what they're showing me. I'm going to get a pattern, and it's very much like a strong daydream. So while I'm speaking to someone, I'm getting these vignettes or daydreams, and it's not a fuzzy kind of, it's not staticky, it's not fuzzy. What I'm actually seeing would be, it looks almost like a true life form. Now, in the movies, people see fantastic things. You know, in reality, a lot of times I'm picking up people where they were comfortable, what their memories were. Let's say you were the person who loved being at home. Okay, you had the favorite recliner. Well, maybe to you, if you want to call it heaven, maybe that recliner is your version of heaven. You know, you got your little TV tray, you got your snacks there, got your feet up, and life is good. So a lot of times when I'm picking up things, these are some of the things that I'm seeing. If you're the person that loves to be at the beach, why wouldn't you be at the beach? Now, this does not mean that's the only thing the consciousness brings with it, but a lot of times people will show me representations. And they're also going to show me kind of like what's important to them. And I don't mean to the person sitting with me. See, that's the fun part. The person sitting with me may not want to know something that they're telling me, but they're showing me this, and I'm picking up the pattern for something. Sometimes it's really... Sorry, I'm hogging the conversation.
No, it's
okay.
Good.
No, I just want to know, if at any point, if you guys want to interject or ask something, go ahead. Because I can... And by the way, I can only give you my experience. I can't give you, like, this is what a medium is. This is who I am. Whether John Edwards or Sylvia... Well, Sylvia's gone, but Sylvia Brown or the Long Island medium... They may have different expressions or experiences, or they may not explain it at all. You know what I mean? But I look at it as it's a trans-dimensional form. It's another elevation of the energetic part of us. You know, if you want to call it the soul.
Well, I did have a question about terms.
Sure, knock yourself out.
50 years of doing this, I can't say that I'm clear on this either.
Me either.
Okay, the term psychic, medium. I was like, well, I'm a psychic. Well, I'm a medium. Well, hey, I'm a psychic medium.
I'm a psychic at large.
So what is the difference between a psychic and a medium? I mean, in some generic sense, if you can.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
A psychic could be, let's say, a clairvoyant. A clairvoyant is someone who basically can predict or can see a future or an event. Let's say I predicted 9/11. I'm psychic then. Okay? If I predicted you're going to meet someone on Friday night and blah, 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 that's the psychic realm. There's clairvoyant, clairsentient, clairaudio, or clairaudient. These are all different parts of the psychic world. The psyche part, again, whether it's... It's kind of like the show. Right now we're behind the paranormal. Mm-hmm. Well, paranormal has probably 25 subtitles to it or more. Mm-hmm. Psychic is the catchphrase. And by the way, in the business, so to speak, you'll find people that are, I'm a psychic tarot reader, I'm a psychic stone reader, I'm a psychic this or a psychic that. Those are subdivisions. A medium is someone that contacts what they, or channels what they believe is, if you want to call it, a spirit. By the way, I want to also clear up the definition between a ghost and a spirit.
Please.
On television, and I love television, I like reality TV, you'll see 122 different ghost shows, especially now with cable and Fire Stick and all of that. A ghost, if you may notice, usually doesn't have a real consciousness. You'll get, I'm here. Great, or my name is Frank. And that's pretty much what you're going to get.
I went into Frank.
Well, Frank.
To be frank.
To be frank, yeah, there you go. But there really isn't a lot of consciousness connected to it. What that is like an instant replay of an energetic time. It's a loop. It can have some conscious activity, like it could know someone's there, but it's not going to respond. You're not going to sit there and go like, hey, can you give me grandma's meatloaf recipe? It's not going to happen, okay? Take Gettysburg. My darling wife, Virginia, and I were down there a few years ago, and I didn't have any big, like people say, I saw the 5th Cavalry right across the field. I didn't, okay? I had a Gettysburger, which was really great. But we went to Antietam after, and as soon as I got out of the vehicle, I could feel the pain, I could feel the empathetic state of the place. That's also part of mediumship. You get the pleasure of feeling sometimes the energetic part. With the ghost experience, people will say, I got sick, like I didn't feel good, or I got cold, or this and that. And what that is, that's an attachment from that ghost, so to speak, pulling energy from the person so they can project their moment. Okay? Now, that's the ghost. That's why you also see on television, the cup is moved 1.2 inches, or the ball rolled. That's pretty much what they can do. Now, I've been doing this for well over 30 years, and before that I was still running around the universe looking for things. I've never been slammed up against the wall like in the movies. I've never had the pleasure of doing the spider walk across the ceiling.
I've never done that. No. Not yet.
What I'm getting at, I hate to use the term as the ghost is a lower level energetic pattern, but let's go up the chain a notch. Let's say someone passes, and not everyone dies unprepared. Not everyone dies in such a traumatic state that they've left an imprint. Some people cross to, I'll use the term, that next vibrational pattern up. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like a stairway, so to speak. So grandma, grandpa, whomever, they may have gone up that ladder one rung. That's the rung above us, okay? So when I'm talking about this, we're talking about a vibrational or energetic pattern one step above us. My job is to mimic or imitate that pattern to get in for that time period. So, by the way, at the moment when I'm doing that, my heart rate will slow down. My core temperature has dropped as much as 2 degrees sometimes because I'm slowing. It's really funny. In order to gain a higher vibrational pattern, you have to slow your actual system down.
That happens with shamans.
It's just exactly. A shaman is going to a higher plane than I do. Okay?
So they tell me, yeah.
Well, a real shaman.
Yeah.
No offense, but...
Oh, no, I'm talking about one in Australia in 1979, an Aboriginal elder with whom I spent 8 hours.
There you go.
Yeah.
Look, I went to Western Siberia at one point and met a real shaman. Okay?
Yeah.
By the way, he looked like Danny DeVito.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I went all the way there to meet a shaman because I was tired of meeting I got certified online shaman.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, gosh.
I'm a shaman in New York and Manhattan. Come over, we'll smoke some, and sit here.
Ayahuasca.
Sit here and contemplate the universe.
Yeah.
A real shaman basically is multitude of things. The real shaman can do anything from fix your actual broken bone to spiritually go to the underworld and free what you have from something. By the way, the underworld, again, is another plane of existence. I kind of base things, and I'll use the term almost on string theory. There are multiple universes running all at the same time. And why would your consciousness not be able to go to another one of these multiple places? That multiple vibration pattern or energetic place? So what happens, at least I believe, is we jump from this lower vibrational form, which is solid, to an energetic vibrational form, which is now pure, if you want to call it pure energy or consciousness. So far, everybody's got me. This is good,
So there's
Go ahead, Ben.
we're gonna take like 3 steps back.
Sure.
There was really interesting. There was a thing you said when sort of making the distinction between psychics and mediums.
Right.
That mediums and or psychics, I'm trying to remember which one. Basically, they get in touch with what they believe is a ghost or a spirit.
Right.
So, how do they determine what they believe?
What they believe or what the spirit believes?
Both.
Okay. First of all, after you've done this a little while, you really do, when I mention the empathetic state, you really do feel the difference in energy. For one thing, the energy from what I call a regular or pure consciousness really has nothing to hide or no great thing to obtain. Think about it. Let's say it's a family member or whatever. You're not being possessed by this spirit either. I don't go far enough, or I do not allow them to come in. This is like having a dialogue. It's like right now. Okay, this is a wonderful talk show. You're talking to me, I'm talking to you. It's an interchange. But I'm not going to let something into my energetic being. I don't know if you're familiar with the difference between there's what they call physical mediumship. I don't know how much you guys are based on this, but
please make the distinction.
No, by all means.
Good. Hey, I'm having fun so far. This is
Good. Just stay close to the mic.
Okay. I'm what's considered a mental medium. I do not manifest things usually. Okay, there's no ectoplasm that comes out of me.
Good.
It's like
we'll
Ghostbusters.
keep the studio clean.
Yeah.
I don't have floating trumpets. We're going to get into that a little later if you want to, how to tell a real one and not. Mm-hmm. Okay? But what I'm getting at here is mental mediumship is when you literally, again, you're picking up the vibrational pattern, you're watching, you're listening. There is some interaction. Now, the next level up is a form of possession where you let the spirit enter you. That's more of a physical mediumship where you invite someone in, and they pretty much steer the show. At that point, they're directing everything. Okay? Now, you really don't want to do this. I've had it happen a couple times in my career because someone was a little too powerful and overdid things. And first, it feels like you're being violated. Right away, you're going to know. Okay? This isn't like, oh, I think there's someone here. This is like, bam. Okay? And suddenly you're looking through someone else's eyes, and you know it. So, again, if I'm talking to Granny, cool. If someone's trying to come in, can I block them to a degree? Yeah. You can put a hold on them. This is all mental. It's almost like you could feel that they want to come in. And by the way, that's very infrequent. Most of the time, I'll use the term, energy is respectful to each other, and it's also a balance. Okay, so I'm a visitor there. I'm visiting with them, so to speak. My energy pattern is cross planes with dimensions. I'm sitting there chatting with them. They're telling me what they need. And by the way, it's not always what they need. Sometimes they're just telling me stuff. It's not. They don't even care about the person sitting here. And I hate to say that, but they're just telling me their story. Sometimes they are cognizant of the person wanting that connection. It depends on who it is. So that's part of it. We had, when I mentioned me, my wife Virginia does all the background stuff for me. She holds the fort together and pretty much makes sure sometimes that we don't have a whole lot of psychopathic clients.
Well, that's good. Yeah.
That's fair. It's good to have a client screener.
Oh, yeah. I had a lady that came to see me, and I'll use the term from the Far East. In the Far East, mediums basically usually let themselves be possessed. And the lady's son came through, and it was a very good reading. It was very valid. We had name and what he looked like, and right down to the fact he was kind of a little gangster. And she understood all of this, and she validated it. But then she said to me, "You let him in now. That's my Ricky. You let him in." And I said, "I'm sorry. I'm not that type of medium. You're supposed to do that. You're supposed to let him in. I don't want to talk to you talking to him. I want to talk to him."
I saw too many movies.
Oh, and like I said, in the Far East, that's a normal trait.
Okay. We have a caller, Frank.
Oh, cool.
Client of
Gary.
Gary. From Colorado?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Welcome to the show, Frank. You're on WOON and Behind the Paranormal.
How you doing, guys? Gary, how's it going?
It's absolutely wonderful. What can I look at for you, Frank? Or what can I do?
Hey, I have to say, guys, he is pretty well on target. I have talked with Gary multiple times. I've known Virginia for almost 30 years. I met Gary through my parents. They actually took one of his courses about 15 years ago. Everyone has their own energy, which is correct. We all interpret things based on what we feel. Those of us who are a lot more in tune to things will get more information out of life.
Okay, excellent. Did you have a specific question?
No, just call and say hi and enjoy the show, guys.
Well, very good. Very pleasant for you to do so, and thank you very much, Frank, and keep listening to the show.
Hey, Frank, keep them flying.
Yep, you too. Thanks.
Very good. Okay. A couple of things
Go ahead.
from an ontological standpoint, Gary, okay? One of them is the Western notion, and it goes back a ways, but it's a little bit unique, that once we are born, we are ourselves, and that we remain ourselves after we quote-unquote die, and that essentially we remain ourselves forever. I mean, can you comment on that? I think that's a little odd.
First of all, I do not believe this is a stopover.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. I honestly believe this is a layover kind of deal.
Yeah, I hear, because we kind of speak from a similar point of view. Not the same, but similar.
I don't know who we were or who we will be.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, where we are and what we're doing is relevant to the here and now. As far as, was I Gary 10 centuries ago? Probably not. Okay? Will I be Gary 10 centuries from now? Again, probably not. And by the way, that energy that I spoke of may choose not to be here at all. That energy might go to an even higher form. And we got to mention that in a few minutes, too.
Mm-hmm.
There are higher...
After the break.
There are higher forms than human.
Yeah.
And lower.
And higher in the sense of what? The frequencies everybody talks about?
Yeah, if you want to call it a vibrational frequency or vibrational tone.
All right.
I'll explain that, too.
Okay. Well, why don't we take our bottom of the hour break here? It's a good time. You're listening to Behind the Paranormal with Paul and Ben Eno here on WOON 1240 AM and 99.3 FM in New England's beautiful Blackstone River Valley with our fascinating guest today, Gary McKinstry, and we'll be right back.
ON Radio.
Hi, I'm Greg Bell, the host of When Radio Was.
Why, Mortimer!
Bill.
Is that you under that blindfold?
Bill, with this thing on, I can't see who I am.
No, I imagine not. Can't you see anything at all under that blindfold?
On a clear day, I can see the blindfold.
You can.
Yeah.
When Radio Was, shows from the past for today's imaginations.
When Radio Was airs Monday through Friday, right here on ON 1240 Radio at 11 a.m. and 11 p.m.
Okay, welcome back Behind the Paranormal with Paul and Ben Eno here on WOON 1240 AM and 99.3 FM. And we're having a fascinating conversation today with psychic medium Gary McKinstry, who is right from our local listening area here. And we very rarely have psychics and mediums on the show because they're not like Gary. All right. So, Gary, before we continue here, let's, and I'll give the phone number one more time. We are not doing readings on the air today, but however, you can call and ask a question of Gary, and the number is, I guess we did away with the 800 number because nobody even knows what it is anymore. 401-766-1240 from anywhere. And we will go to a question now from Peter in South America. Peter's a very faithful listener and sends in some excellent questions. And Ben, if you'd take question number one, we'll throw that at Gary and see what he throws back.
Well, behind door number one, we have...
I'll take the curtain.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good choice. How can someone tell the difference between a real medium and one that is perhaps a really good actor? And what are the tricks of the actor type?
Cool. That's a great... Peter, thank you.
He's just getting started.
Oh, that's great, because I was wondering how to get into that part anyway. There's a term called cold reading. Okay? Cold reading, if I'm a cold reader, I'm probably not going to connect to very much that's validatable. I'm going to look at your dad for a moment, okay? And you're not maybe 30 or 40.
Not by a long shot.
Granted, okay? So I can look at pretty much categorize your age group. So right off the bat, I could figure mom and dad are probably gone. Grandma and grandpa are definitely, and I could figure that way. Mm-hmm. And I could also figure the possibility that you may have a sibling that's passed due to the age group. So step A, if I'm the fraudulent medium, I can kind of put you in that group. So and there are 3 major causes of death in America, like heart attack, stroke, and cancer. Coming from, let's say, the Hartford or Woonsocket area, you can pretty much almost narrow it down. And if for some reason I said to you, or if I knew you lived, let's say, in a mill town, I might up the cancer rate a little bit. Because, coming from that age group, a lot of people worked in a mill, a lot of people had cancer. So now you could go, your dad had cancer. He passed, blah, and I could go from there. And now I'm going to sound pretty good because A is, and by the way, males usually go earlier. Statistically, men pass at 82, women pass at 85. That's the new statistic.
Yeah.
But you could pretty much figure dad probably passed first. Dad probably worked in a factory if it's from Woonsocket or in that type of business. And dad more than likely either had a heart disease or cancer. And mostly chest-related. So therefore, now I've already got the basis for that. Now I got you hooked, hopefully, all right? Mm-hmm. From there, I'm going to work it a little bit more. One of the things, if I'm the fraudulent medium, I'm probably going to watch your reaction. Like if the mouth goes like, oh, or if the eyes change or the reflection of. So we got that part. The next thing I'm going to do, if I know it's a male and I know the age group, let's say we use Frank again. Let's say Frank died at 64, and you can actually before that, because let's say Frank died and he was like 80. From that age group, I can think of the common male names from that generation. There's John, George. They were very simplistic names. So if I throw one of them out, there's a good chance I may hit, and if I don't, it's a good chance it's Frank's brother. That's how you play the cold reading game. You go by, you go by group similarities. Now, even in a real reading, there's going to be some group similarities, because do you know how many 5'1" grandmas I've seen in a house dress with bad hair? Okay, I mean that's normal. Everybody seems to have had one, but beyond that, how am I going to know if that grandma had a lane cedar chest, and in the top of the cedar chest on a right-hand side, there's grandpa's war medal, but one of them's missing? Now, if I hit that stuff, that's the validation we're looking for, okay? I might not know your social security number, nor would I want to, but the other day...
that was very... just but.
He's not going to steal our identity.
No.
Please do not. Unless you want all my debt.
No, thanks. The other day I was reading for a lady. Her dad came through eating a pineapple table talk pie. You know those 2 for $1 pies you used to get?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can have a Stop and Shop. Yeah.
And he's sitting at the kitchen table, and he looks like he's like getting ready to go to work. Like he had on his, like those olive green work pants. And I could see the shoes. And the dude's got the little aluminum plate, and he's like chowing down on the pineapple pie, and he's grinning. And the woman started crying. By the way, not over the fact he ate the last pie. But the fact was, that was kind of like Dad's secret guilt. Like, get the pie and he'd put it in the corner so nobody took it. Mm-hmm. And in the morning before he went to work, he'd eat the pie. Now, to me, that might not have meant anything. It means the guy liked the pineapple pie. To her, that was the validation or the comfort she needed that Dad was okay. Mm-hmm. That's the difference between fraudulent, okay? Because if I don't know anything about these people, and Virginia and I were at a show. We do a lot of large events. And we do probably 20 fundraisers a year. And we were doing a show for Operation Friendship up in Grafton. And I'm walking through the crowd, and all of a sudden, in my mind, I'm seeing a lady in a wheelchair, and she has a leg missing, and she's got an artificial limb. And I watched her throw it at this girl. As a matter of fact, she's throwing it at the girl sitting in the audience. And she's laughing like heck. Now, I'm standing in front of this girl, and I said, I got to ask you a really strange question. And the girl goes, yeah. I said, was your mother an amputee? And she goes, yeah. I said, did she have an artificial limb? She said, yeah. I said, she just threw it at you. Now the girl's laughing and crying at the same time. She said, Mom used to do that. I said, well, by the way, Mom told me to tell you she's still not sorry. Those are the kind of things for a real medium or someone that does what I do is going to pick up. Not like, and on occasion, I'll be honest with you. I hit the same. There are standard stuff you hit, and you can't help it. But someone that actually, if you're going to see somebody, and this is my living. I do this. This is who I am. I don't have a different job. People go like, well, what do you do? I'm a medium. This is what I do. When someone comes to me, and if I cannot connect, I usually tell them, take the money, go out and have a wonderful dinner or lunch, go buy some new shoes, go do something with it. If I can't connect and I know it or I feel I can't, I'm not going to make it up. To me, it's not worth jeopardizing your integrity. Mm-hmm. When I'm doing this, cool. So, anyway, Peter, that's the long and short of it. That's how you know a real one from a fake one.
Well, on to Peter's second question.
Yahoo!
For now, behind door number 2,
yes.
Paul has expressed the idea that parasitic entities have the power to impersonate deceased loved ones. How can a medium tell the difference between contact with a real deceased human versus a parasitic impersonator? The parasites appear to have the ability to have the authentic information from us.
First of all, I happen to tend to agree with Paul that there are parasitic entities. That's the first thing. In case
you sat through my lecture at the X-Filers convention.
Shook my head, yep.
I saw you up there. I said, these people are going to be friends of mine.
Oh, yeah. I'll go like, okay, I'm grooving on the idea. There's a tip-off. the parasitic entity is not going to really be a perfect energy form. As I said earlier, you're going to feel something. That tonal vibration or that level that you're on, if you want to call it its path, just like when a parasitic entity enters this dimensional form, it doesn't feel right. You're going to know. Let's say for the sake of argument, let's say there was an entity like that in me right now. There's a good chance you're going to feel it.
Yeah.
You're not going to well, you'll know there's something wrong.
And we have had one or two mediums in here before, and I have felt it. I couldn't wait to get them out of here.
Yeah.
Oh,
no, you're going to know. There's something either dark or, and
something a little off.
Yeah. Well, it's no different than this. If someone's coming across as evil granny, you're going to know right away that there's something up. And have I ever run into? Sure. I mean, I've run into evil. It's out there. But you know almost instantly that it's kind of, I'll use the term, your spidey senses pop up, and it's like, something ain't right here, kids. Yeah. So you shut it down as quick as you can. You'll know, or there's sometimes it even feels like a duality. Like there's a doppelganger entity.
Oh, like an invasion of the body snatchers.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
And they're usually trying to get in. When it is a parasitic, they're trying to get into the medium or the operator. They're looking to become flesh. They're looking for that physical connection, and you're going to feel that right away. Most of the time, I'll use the term, the spirit or energetic form is pretty benign. It's kind of like human beings, for the most part, are fairly respectful. Most people. They're not going to jump in and go, "Ooh, I'm taking you for a ride." Where the parasitic or the negative energy like that, that's the first thing you're going to feel, almost like they want to take over.
Yeah. Gary, we've still got some time, but I wanted to, before we burn it all up, I wanted to give you a chance to talk about your website, whatever information you'd like to, where people can find out more.
Well, as we speak, our website is still up, but we have a brand new website coming up, and it's GaryMcKinstry.com. Matter of fact, you can go on it now, but we've got a spiffy-looking one coming. Right? And it will be connected to all sorts of interesting things. Virginia and I do a multitude of group events. We've done events in Rhode Island and Massachusetts, Connecticut. We're going to be doing one up in Maine. Those are large gallery readings. And for anyone that doesn't know what a gallery reading is, it's kind of like the best of. There could be 100 people in a room, and you go out and connect to as many of them as possible. These are not in-depth readings. I can't spend 20 minutes on a reading because there's 100 people, and I can usually connect to maybe 20 people. We do that. I do private readings at our studio, and I also, if people get private groups together, I even still go to the home sometimes. Whatever makes people comfortable. We've been on the lecture circuit. We've lectured everywhere we've done Cape Cod Community College, Springfield College, Holy Cross, Harvard. We've pretty much been everywhere. So we're open for that. And you can even call us at 508-943-9058 during the week. That's 9 to 4, right, dearest? And making sure I get the hours right. And 9 to 12 on Saturdays. I'm pretty much your general psychic. Okay. I even taught night school. Taught tarot and palmistry at Bay Path Regional for years.
Oh, Bay Path, yeah, okay. In Longmeadow?
No, it's in Charlton, Mass.
Charlton, okay. All right. The notion of time. I don't know, Ben, if you want to jump in here. But
I do. Before you jump into the physics of time and whatnot. So this, taking another quick step back, you mentioned that people kind of like when you give readings, they sort of feel validated, like, oh, my grandfather's in a good spot. Have you ever run into a place or a time or a person or a client where whoever is trying to be contacted is in a bad place?
Sure. You mean the person on the other side?
Yes.
Yeah. as human beings, we're not all nice. People do some pretty... Unfortunately, in the world, there's greed, there's power, there's corruption, there's lust. And sometimes people do some pretty horrendous things to other people. I've never seen a devil dude. I've never seen the guy with the pitchfork and the wings. I think that would be too easy. You know what I mean? Because then you could blame it, well, the devil is doing this. What I've seen is I've seen people that seem to be stuck in their place. In other words, most people are going to advance to another energetic level at some point. And it seems like those people are perpetually, until they actually see it, because it's almost like they're watching their story, but until they see it without their take, so to speak, until they see reality, they're never going to leave there. It's not purgatory per se. I had someone that came to see me, and the gentleman that came through was someone that molested her. And he was basically pretty much bound. He was sitting in a chair and he was bound like he did to someone. It's almost like he became the victim. And how long will he be in this state? I don't know. Okay? But what I can tell you is I didn't see him. And it's really odd because right in front of him, it looked like a doorway where he could leave, but he couldn't get out of the chair because he was bound to it. Now, I think this is self-imposed to a degree also.
I agree. Yeah.
Okay, so...
we make our own bed in the multiverse, as we would put it.
Correct.
Yeah. So that brings up the notion of time, Gary. And I suppose it's six of one or half dozen of the other, but in 1952, Einstein wrote Relativity.
Correct.
Okay? And the very clear message there, among other things, was that there really is no past, there's really no future. It's pretty much all simultaneous.
Right.
So that helped us, with our interpretation of the multiverse theory. And there are many interpretations, many of which coincide very accurately with what you said today. We see it as much more physical. But that's just our experience.
Right.
And we're not here to talk about me, but
No, that's good.
But just very briefly, and we've talked about this off the air. When I had a lovely publicist a number of years ago, who I loved her dearly, but she was she represented John Edward at one point.
Okay.
She was determined to make me a psychic. I said, that's not what I do. It's more, the research, paranormal, et cetera, et cetera. And so I tried it. And I said, okay, well, I don't really believe in dead people, so what I'm gonna do is put myself where I am these people in some parallel reality. And we talked about that. And it was too intimate an experience. I couldn't do it. It was just too intimate. I had all their imagination, their fears. It was terrible. My heart would race.
And you do, by the way. This is part of it.
Yeah, I guess,
yeah.
So what say you on all this? I mean, about the time thing. Is that a problem or not, or what? I mean, is everything simultaneous?
It's almost like each individual unit is keeping its own time.
Well, psychological time. Isn't
Correct.
It? Yeah.
We're probably the only species that worries about time.
Probably.
Okay?
Yeah.
Like, I'm wearing a watch. I've never seen anything else wear a watch. I've never seen
mine doesn't
anything
work at the moment.
Well,
So, yeah.
I've never seen anything except for like hunger and the natural issues. Nothing else worries. As far as I know, dogs don't have birthdays. I mean, we count them for them.
That's a good point.
They live their life from birth to death, and their time is actually sequentially different for them. We worry about things. And what if you were a fruit fly? A fruit fly lives for 24 hours. Now, that fruit fly, that may be a whole expanse of time. From the moment it's born till the time it dies, that's an entire lifetime. But it's 24 hours.
Yeah.
But maybe that time to them is accelerated. To them, it's kind of like, wow, I lived this, and I did this, and I did that, and blah, blah, blah. So when you get to the point of quantifying time, you have to look at it as it's not just a species, but it's where that energy or that person or creature or whatever is. And it also has to deal with, let's face it, the universe is ever expanding, which means time is also ever expanding. It's slowing down, it's contracting, it's changing, it's jumping, it's multiplying.
It's relative.
Right. It's not staying. It's a dynamic, not a static.
Okay. All right.
Wow.
Good stuff.
Wow, yeah.
All right.
That's why I have a coffee with me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we can
All right.
process all of this.
How did you find out about these abilities? I mean, in other words, who told you were a medium, so to speak?
I was. This all started. I started when I was a teenager, but I didn't have an outlet because back then they pretty much institutionalized you.
Yeah.
You know, oh, I'm seeing dead people. Well, let's get them to the. So I went to art school and learned how to paint, and so I could show, or at least I was painting what I could see, and it was a way to get it out of my head, so to speak. From there, I was always interested. I was the kid that would take the bus to Worcester and go to the bookstore, and they always had that one aisle in the back of the store where it was the strange and unusual. Okay,
It's
and I'd be
kind
like
of creeping forward in the stores lately. Yeah.
and I'd be like coming home with all of the books. So I've always looked for, wasn't sure what I was looking for or why, and then this went more and more and more and more, and then finally I met somebody and they were talking about like candles and this and that. So I went to buy some at a New Age shop, and I went in there and they had a really bad reader. And this person was butchering a reading really bad. And I said to the owner, I said, I can do that. I've never done it before, but I can do that. So she said, well, read for me. And I did. And she said, do you want a job? And then I was working at a real job, but I said, it ended up being a fun part-time gig. And, I met a lot of people. It was interesting. And then she said to me, the only thing is you need a tool. And I said, what do you mean? She said, you're kind of scaring some of the clients because you're just sitting here telling them stuff. Most of my clients are used to like tarot cards or crystals or runes or something. So I came up with this thing. I went to Yankee Candle and bought a giant black candle.
It must have been expensive.
It was. Smelled nice.
I was going to say, what was the scent?
Midsummer's Night Dream.
Ah.
And I'd light this candle, and I'm still sitting there doing my thing, but now they're thinking that it's coming from the candle. So now because sometimes it actually spooks people. If they think you know something, they get nervous. But if they think the candle's got something special, so I became a candle reader. That went on for a little while, but I wasn't too happy with that.
That's interesting. Because there was someone sort of mentioned to us at some point, because we did a whole show about Ouija boards,
nice.
and all of that it's basically just a tool to interpret things or like take hold of our natural abilities and just sort of knock holes in space time.
I think we did that with Rosemary Ellen Guiley.
That's what it was.
You guys know Jeff Belanger?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Jeff was at the house when he wrote his book on Ouija boards, because I'm supposed to be an expert at them.
Yeah.
A is they're from Parker Brothers now. The B is they are from mica, and the planchette is plastic.
Yeah.
It's not the Ouija board that's opening up; it's the people. They're
Jeff's
sitting.
been on the show once or twice.
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
They're sitting on Walmart shelf, and they're not levitating, but it's the people operating them that are opening the door.
Yeah.
It's their intent. So, but anyway, I digress. I'm sorry. Where were we?
We were mentioning how it's interesting that humans use tools to kind of interpret natural abilities.
The tool makes the participant comfortable. The other thing is, and there is one effect from it. I have a collection of crystal balls. Like in The Wizard of Oz. We actually have Laurie Cabot's crystal ball. We bought it from her when
Laurie Cabot from Salem, the famous.
One of the times she was going out of business.
Yeah.
She
she retired at it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, she was retiring, so everything was on sale. So I bought her crystal ball. What that actually is, if anybody knows anything a little bit about hypnosis, the stages of hypnosis are relaxation, fixation. The crystal ball is a fixation point. A candle would be a fixation point to set the tone for the mind. Even like tarot cards and stuff, the cards are cardboard. They're not going to tell you anything really. The pictures are lovely and they suggest what to look at, but they're a fixation point to open the mind.
Ah.
But I agree. Same thing with in negative situations. If you bring in a cross or
Right.
holy, what's the same? So I've seen teddy bears work for little kids.
Right.
You know.
Well,
Exactly right. Yeah.
take a whirling dervish.
Yeah.
It's the rhythmic motion of him spinning around and around and around, and the drum or the moderator. That's the fixation point, and that's what the tools are. They're a fixation point.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we've barely begun here.
I know, this is
Yeah.
great.
We'll have to either go to a 5-hour show or do some more shows here, I think, in the very near future. Okay. We probably ought to get to our announcements. But
Yeah, we're burning up the
yeah,
hour
we're burning
here.
up the
Sorry,
hour time
guys.
here. Okay.
It's not
So,
okay.
Gary, give us your website one more time, please.
GaryMcKinstry.com, and the number is 508-943-9058.
Very good. And we'll do this again for sure.
Thank you.
All right, announcements. My book, Dancing Past the Graveyard, Poltergeist, Parasites, Parallel Worlds, and God, should be in stores this coming week. It's already in Smithfield, I understand, also Nashua, I should say Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and Manchester, at the Barnes & Nobles, I've been told. And anybody who pre-ordered it should be receiving it now. The official release will take place with our good friends at the Toadstool Bookshop in Keene, New Hampshire on Saturday, September 21st, beginning at 2 p.m.
And on Saturday, August 17th at 2 p.m., we will be at the Haverhill Public Library on 99 Main Street, Haverhill, Massachusetts, to present on extreme UFO encounters in Massachusetts and beyond. And more information at the haverhillpl.org, or you can call 978-373-1586.
Then comes the 2019 Exeter UFO Festival, where we will speak for the 8th year in a row, as well as do our 4th annual live broadcast of this show with a panel of the speakers on Sunday, September 1st at noon from the historic Exeter, New Hampshire Town Hall. Speakers will include 2 actual witnesses from the famous Allagash area Maine abduction case of 1976. This great event is sponsored by the Exeter Area Kiwanis Club and benefits local children's charities. Find out more at exeterufofestival.org.
And on the evening before that, Friday, August 30th, my dad will be at the Plaistow, New Hampshire Public Library at 5:30 p.m. to present on weird UFOs in the Granite State as an unofficial prequel to the Exeter UFO Festival. Some of the other Exeter speakers might make some cameos as well, including myself, if my work schedule allows.
Yes, if fate so decrees, that would be great. Other fall events will take place at the Wood Memorial Library, South Windsor, Connecticut, Book Lovers Gourmet in Webster, Mass., Blackstone Public Library right here in our home listing area, and, of course, the Greater New England UFO Conference in Leominster, Mass. on Columbus Day weekend, of which I'm told I'm going to be the MC because of 50 years in the paranormal, and Tewksbury, Mass. Public Library, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So next April, we'll be back at the New England Parafest, Kittery, Maine. More details as we go.
So you can get our books, including Behind the Paranormal, Everything You Know Is Wrong, Behind the Paranormal 2, Bigfoot, Mothman, and Monsters You've Never Heard Of, and now, Dancing Past the Graveyard, Poltergeist, Parasites, Parallel Worlds, and God. They're all available from online retailers and in sub-stores, but if you want some autographed copies, you can visit our online bookstore at BehindTheParanormal.com.
Also at that website, you'll find out more about the show, our many cases over the years, public appearances, how to book us, and you'll find nearly 850 free recorded shows once we've restored them all from the hideous cyber attack that we suffered when we tried to put the UFO video online.
Yeah, you know how it goes.
Yeah. So anyway, most of them are up there. Also on the various podcast platforms, all the major platforms are there as well.
Indeed. And there are also links to several charities that we've adopted on the show, including USA Cares, Canadian Veterans Advocacy, Helping Haiti's Orphans, Youth Mentoring Connection in Los Angeles, the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation of America, and the Sisterhood of Ground Zero.
And we emphasize we know the people who run these charities and or who founded them. So we vet them very, very carefully to make sure your money goes where it's supposed to. Ben, what do we have cooking for next week?
Ho-ho! So next week, we'll bring you an open line show with our popular guest co-host, Shane Searway, and a surprise 50th anniversary tribute. And also, wow, that's actually kind of fun. We have three weeks in a row. We have people
that's
in
amazing.
studio.
Wow, we're
that's
on a
never
roll
happened
here.
Before. Wow, it's
Yeah.
historic.
The Skype is great, but it's not the same as ever.
No.
So we leave you this afternoon with a thought from, of all people, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Strength does not come from winning. Your struggles develop your strengths. when you go through the hardships and decide not to surrender, that is strength. I'm Paul Eno.
And I'm Ben Eno, and thanks for joining us on our great cosmic journey, and we shall see you next time on Behind the Paranormal with Paul and Ben Eno.
Return to this radio frequency 167 hours from now for another edition of Behind the Paranormal with Paul and Ben Eno.